With Volkswagen completely leaving the diesel segment, it leaves a huge hole for another manufacturer to come in and honestly steal some of the most loyal buyers in the industry. This week, Chevrolet has sent me that exact vehicle. Let's take an in-depth look at this 2017 Chevrolet Cruze diesel. Ever since Chevrolet introduced the Cruze back in 2011, it instantly brought Chevy up to par with all the other Japanese and American entries in the very competitive compact segment. I've already shown you guys full reviews on a 2016 Cruze sedan and then followed that up with a Cruze hatch. For 2017, Chevy has brought back the diesel option for this vehicle. If you guys remember, I actually showed you a Cruze diesel a few years ago, like back in 2015. I was relatively impressed with the fuel economy, had a couple of reservations about the engine. However, for 2017, there's an all-new diesel engine in the Cruze. It's actually a smaller engine versus the previous generations. It's now a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel, making less horsepower, but it gets better gas mileage. Now, if you guys look at the Cruze in general, it was fully redesigned for 2016, has all the design cues that you see in the current crop of Chevy products. It's a relatively handsome sedan for sure. For 2018, Chevy will expand the diesel engine into the hatch. For 17, it's only available on the sedan. Now, speaking of which, the diesel comes pretty well equipped. You can take it and is either one trim. It's equipped basically like an LT with the convenience package with either a 6-speed manual like my Tester, which is super unique. I was really excited when I saw it had a stick shift, or an all-new 9-speed automatic, which replaces the old 6-speed auto that I had so many issues with in the first generation Chevrolet Cruze diesel. Now, you can see the design of this car is pretty under the radar. You can't really tell it's a diesel at all from looking at it, aside from a badge on the back that says TD, and it's in blue. And if you listen closely, you'll hear that slight diesel clatter coming in from underneath the hood. You can see LED daytime running lights are standard. Chevy does not offer xenon headlights or LED headlights on this generation Cruze, including the diesel, so you just are dealing with projector halogens. For some reason, there's also no fog lights on this model, and Chevy doesn't offer that RS appearance sport package that I showed you on the gasoline models equipped with the 1.4-liter turbo petrol engine. Now, these 16-inch wheels are standard on the diesel. They're pretty much the only wheel option. They're pretty small. I really prefer the 18s that you get on the RS sport package on the gasoline model, as they do, lower the grip that this car offers, but they do improve the ride quality slightly. Now, on the sides, the sedan version definitely has a very traditional look. It looks a little bit narrower. I prefer the look of the hatch, to be honest. Back, the taillights are pretty similar. You have exhaust tips that are hidden underneath the bumper, and then in the small little TD badge to show you guys that this is the diesel version. But other than that, it's a pretty under-the-radar, conservative-looking sedan that should age well, if it is a little bit on the boring side to look at. But my Tester in this Cajun red pearl exterior color certainly helps. But enough about the exterior. Let's take a look at the inside and see how it differs compared to the two gas models that I showed you in the past. Now, first looking at the Cruze diesel, you can see it comes standard with the company's smart key access system with push-button start. No remote start because my Tester is a manual. All the diesel models come with this because it has the convenience package that is optional on the gas model on the LT trim. Now, you can see here, coming up to the Cruze, there are buttons on the outside of the door handle. To lock the door, just push the button. That locks the door for you. To unlock it, there's no sensor on the back of the handle. You have to push the button again, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, you can see my Tester has this very, very unique shade of like brownish, saddle-ish, caramel-colored leather. It's certainly unique, especially in this segment. You don't see this kind of a color option available in the basic compact segment. You can see my Tester also has an 8-way power driver's seat, which is also nice. No memory seats though, but this is part of a $1,200 leather package that my Tester gives you. It also includes a heated steering wheel and heated seats. It's a pretty good option. The leather itself does feel like vinyl from time to time. It doesn't feel like real leather, but the seats are relatively comfortable, supportive. They don't really hold you in place though, like some other seats I've experienced in this segment. Now, stepping inside, you can see here the step-in height is pretty much what you expect in a compact car. It's easy to get in and out of this vehicle, and then when you shut the door, The thunk sounds okay. It definitely, you know, is pretty norm with what you expect in this segment. Now you can see my tester has a 6-speed manual transmission. The shifter itself, the throws, are pretty long, so this is not really a sporty driving compact. I've definitely experienced better manuals in the competing vehicles. However, this is the first manual Cruze that I'm driving for this generation. But as you can see here, push button start is standard. Put the clutch in because it's a stick shift, and then push this button here to fire up the engine. Now on initial startup, you can hear the engine doesn't really remind you that it's a diesel. It's pretty quiet and it starts up really quickly. Honestly, there's very little in here to let you know. Chevy didn't even include like a badge or label here in the instrument panel that says ultra slow sulfur diesel only, which is a little concerning. I feel like some owners may forget that this is a diesel. When you start revving it up, it reminds you that it's a diesel because it's very slow to rev and it's a little bit rough. I noticed the engine, it transmits a lot of vibrations, which is normal for a diesel. However, I expected a little bit more for today's modern diesels. It's a little bit more refined than the old 2-liter in the previous generation, but this still doesn't really approach the, dare I say it, the diesel in the old Volkswagen engines, the 2-liter, which is, not emission compliant. Those really had the smoothest that I was looking for in a diesel. This is a little bit more grainy, a little bit more coarse, a little bit more harsh for sure. But looking at the rest of this interior, you can see it's a pretty nice interior at a glance. The materials are pretty much class competitive. I love this, soft stitch portion here. It's actual real stitching and it's really softly padded on this portion here of the dash. The upper panels, however, are hard touch plastic, but most of it fits pretty well. I like the piano black and the chrome trim, accenting this, making this interior look a little bit more expensive. The door panel here is hard touch plastic, unfortunately, but it is soft touch right here where your elbows are going to rest. The window is one touch on the driver's side and the passenger side for down, but not automatic up, so only down for all 4 windows actually, but just not one touch up. So kind of silly that they didn't include an automatic one touch, at least for the front windows. Now looking at the center stack here, you can see my tester does not have the upgraded Chevrolet MyLink infotainment system. In fact, I haven't seen this type of head unit in a while. Most of the Chevy products they give me have like the high-end one. This is literally the more basic one. It's a 7-inch display, but it does have Android Auto and CarPlay at least. However, the display is missing, the navigation function. It doesn't have the newest graphics in here, so it's a pretty more basic system. If you guys want the upgraded MyLink head unit, you have to go for the automatic transmission, and you have to option in a Sun Sound package that will basically give you the upgraded head unit. Chevy does not offer factory in-car GPS. Instead, you either use the OnStar GPS or you have to use your Apple CarPlay or your Android Auto to graph the GPS that's on your smartphone, which I imagine isn't going to be too much of a problem for people in this segment. Everything else is pretty easy to use. The touch response is relatively quick. So I'm not really going to complain there. And actually, it is pretty easy to use. I will say it's just a little bit more basic looking compared to the, really fully upgraded Chevrolet MyLink. My tester only has a single zone manual climate control system. It's got 3-level heated seats. That's part of a leather package. Down here, you've got your USB and your power outlet there, and an aux port. There's a little bit of storage there for your phone. There's the stability control off switch button there. There's lots of empty buttons here to show that this is more of a basic trim as opposed to, the higher trims that I've tested. As I said earlier, the 6-speed has really long throws. It's not bad, of course. It's pretty easy to shift. Reverse is accessed by pulling up on this little ring that feels kind of cheap here and then going all the way over to the left. The clutch itself is pretty springy, really numb also. I found it a little bit difficult to drive this car smoothly. It takes some time to get used to that. When you put the vehicle into reverse here, you do have a backup camera, which gets washed out in the rain like it is today, but it has trajectory, it has distance markers, so that's nice. No parking sensors, of course. This is more of just a traditional, basic style car. Looking down here, you can see there's good storage. There's 3 cup holders here, pretty much. Some storage here. It's got a traditional handbrake for those of you who prefer that. The armrest here, it slides forward. It doesn't adjust up and down, but it does slide forward. It gives you some storage down there or in there for, to put some things and hide them away. The glove compartment, it is damped. It is actually massive, just like the gasoline version. It's just not lined with felt. But overall, the interior of this car certainly looks nice at a glance. I like the new materials that Chevy's using along with the new switchgear. It's nice. It's pretty much on par with a lot of its segment leaders. I just really would recommend going for the upgraded Chevrolet MyLink infotainment system as opposed to this one. This just doesn't look quite as nice as the ones that I've tested in the higher trims. The rear seat of the Chevrolet Cruze diesel is pretty much competitive with the class as well. You can see the middle seat is almost nearly flat, and getting back here, it's pretty easy to get in and out as well. And there's actually really good legroom here for a compact car. Really great foot space underneath the front seats. This flat floor here, nearly flat, makes it easy to, to fit 3 people across. No vents back here, and then Chevy only gives you 1 mat pocket for storage. Now when you shut the door sounds okay. It's nice and solid. There's all hard touch plastic here, but it's soft touch right there where your elbows are going to rest. There is a nice little fold down armrest right here with some cup holders and storage there, and then the seats themselves, they fold down 60/40 for more versatility. The trunk capacity of the Cruze diesel is also quite generous. You're looking at around 14 cubic feet of space with the seats up. If you want to fold those seats down, as I said, they're 60/40, and it will expand your cargo capacity. Now, looking underneath the floor here, Chevy does give you a temporary spare, so you don't have to deal with a fix-a-flat kit, but you got to watch these hinges here as they will crush your cargo, so you got to make sure that doesn't get in the way. Underneath the hood of the Cruze diesel, again, you have no indication really that this is a diesel aside from the slightly louder than average idle noise, which is actually kind of loud even by modern diesel standards in my opinion. Now this is a new engine this year. It's a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel engine. It runs on ultra-low sulfur diesel. The numbers are 137 horsepower and 240 pound-feet of torque. Now torque is all what diesels are about. This is pretty similar in torque output figures as what you get in like a Ford Focus ST or Volkswagen GTI. The horsepower, of course, is comparable with, the regular engines. Now, if you compare this to the previous generation diesel, that actually had more power from the bigger 2-liter, but this engine is more refined. I honestly don't really notice a difference too much. Now, what Chevy did improve is the fuel economy. My tester with the 6-speed manual gets the best gas mileage of any non-EV vehicle. It's rated at 30 in the city, 52 on the highway. And I have to say that 52 is pretty easy to attain. Now, if you guys go for the 9-speed auto, it actually drops to around 47 on the highway. You still get around 37 combined in mixed driving with either transmission. The Cruze diesel weighs just under 3,000 pounds. It's front-wheel drive only, but let's get it on the road and see how it all works, shall we? So I've driven this generation Cruze quite a few times, and I was relatively impressed with the chassis. The engines, the turbos, just never really did it for me in terms of performance, and I really didn't like the transmission. However, this is the first time I'm driving the diesel and a manual transmission, so I'm actually really happy it's a stick shift. It's really a rare combination to find. This VW was the last one, of course, but Chevy's really the only one to offer this combo. So let's get out on the road and see how it all works. As expected, with an engine that has this much torque, I mean 240 pound-feet of torque is pretty impressive in this little car. It's pretty easy to spin the tires out. Now keep in mind it is wet, the roads are damp, it's been raining all day pretty much, unfortunately. But the Cruze is certainly one interesting driving economy car, and for an enthusiast who really wants something that's just a commuter car that's fun to drive, this seriously offers everything that the old Volkswagen Jetta TDI offered and then some. And it's a shame that VW has had to pull out of this market with their Dieselgate emission scandal. Luckily, the Cruze is 50-state compliant, at least for now, hopefully. And it's a great driving car. I love this new diesel engine. It is very torquey, seriously strong mid-range. From 2,000 to about 3,500 RPM, the pull is just intense. I'm in 4th gear now, put my foot down, this thing seriously just surges forward and pushes you back into the seat with the kind of urgency I expect from like a GTI. It's really, you start pushing it past 35 into the 4s. This thing redlines at $5,000. You don't want to push it past 4. The power tapers off super abruptly at that point. Diesel engines are torque monsters. You don't want to rev the crap out of them. That's why they get such great gas mileage, though, is you don't have to push them at all. The shifter, on the other hand, is not my favorite in terms of shifting. It's got super long rubbery throws, not much feel. The clutch also doesn't have much feel. It took me a few times to get used to the clutch when I first started driving this car, and I stalled it a couple times, I'll be honest. See, with these wet roads, it has trouble putting the power down because these are skinny eco tires on 16-inch wheels. Now, there isn't too much test data on the Cruze diesel, but the old one got to 60 in like 8.5 seconds. These things aren't fast by numbers. They're all about feel, and this thing feels seriously quick. I would estimate its 0 to 60 time to be in the low 8-second range. Again, there isn't too much data out there since people have been driving the new 9-speed automatic as opposed to this lovely 6-speed manual, which honestly gives you the most control of this engine's strong torque curve. I haven't driven the 9-speed, so I haven't commented on that yet, but I hated the old 6-speed automatic in the previous generation. I also hated the 6-speed automatic in the new generation with the gas engines. Now, going down the road here, the Cruze diesel feels like a bigger car. It's got a really controlled ride quality. It's pretty quiet in here. You don't really hear too much in terms of diesel clatter like you do at idle, but the road noise is pretty subdued. The tires, you know, they're low rolling resistance. The ride quality is also quite good. It's a lot softer than the RS equipped models that I've driven with the 18-inch wheels. Now, that can be a good thing if you guys are looking for a softer ride, but I do notice when you're pushing the Cruze diesel around corners here, it doesn't really inspire much confidence because the steering is so numb. The tires have very limited grip, and I found this car understeered pretty heavily when I was just kind of driving this car moderately around turns. Even in the dry, I found that this car is not a sporty compact car like the Mazda 3 is, like the Honda Civic is. This is kind of blurring the line between like a Toyota Corolla and a Hyundai Elantra in terms of driving dynamics. It's just an easy commuter car to drive. Just doesn't really inspire much confidence because the steering is super numb and these tires just don't really have much grip. But other than that, the visibility in here is great. You can see out of the front easily, out of the back easily. My tester doesn't have any driver assistance tech, surprisingly. No blind spot monitor or cross traffic alert, no lane departure alert, no forward collision warning or automatic braking whatsoever. You have to go to the automatic transmission, then add that upgraded package for like $3,000 that gets you blind spot monitoring. Now, the Cruze is one of the few compact cars that's a little bit lacking in that department. You can't even get adaptive cruise control on this car. You can get lane departure warning and forward collision warning as passive systems, but in terms of active safety tech, Chevy is a little bit behind the game there, and I'm hoping they, you know, refresh the Cruze, you know, for 2018 and offer that feature because, you know, you can get it on a Honda Civic. It comes standard on a Toyota Corolla and even the basic trim, for Christ's sake. So it's a little weird that Chevy is not, you know, offering that feature, and no LED or HID headlights. Another disappointment about this current generation Cruze. But other than that, with the diesel, it's quite a pleasant driving car with the manual. It's fun to drive, it's fast, it's got plenty of torque, and I think a lot of you are going to be quite pleased as a commuter car for something like this, basically. Now again, the Cruze, you can put it on some back roads, but I have to tell you, the tires don't have much grip. And I find myself braking early because they seriously push. The car pushes pretty early when you start taking some, you know, sharper corners at higher speeds. But let's talk a little bit about the fuel economy because this is the diesel. That's probably what you guys are most curious about. In my week's worth of testing, I actually averaged around 35 miles per gallon in mostly city driving. That's damn impressive. It's about a little bit less or a little bit more than what I got in like a 1.5 turbo Honda Civic with its gas engine. A big improvement over the gas engine Cruze though, like by like 8 miles per gallon. So it's good. Now on the highway, on pure highway driving, you can easily push this car over 50 miles per gallon. That's exactly what I did. Like on a quick highway jaunt, the trip computer was telling me I was getting like 53 miles per gallon. So that's where a diesel really shines, is in the highway. In the city, you know, a hybrid's gonna get better gas mileage, or an electric car, obviously. But on the highway, this is where a diesel can seriously just extend, you know, really show off its capabilities and its efficiencies. You can seriously, you know, get a lot of MPG out of the diesel if you guys, you know, drive this much more economically. Now, the range is also excellent. The computer has showed that I can go almost 600 miles on a full tank of gas, which is just fantastic, honestly. So again, this is what makes the Cruze diesel such a great highway car for that matter. Now, what is all this going to cost you? Now, the Cruze, you know, starts at just under $17,000 for a base gas engine. The diesel is a pretty hefty premium. It only comes as a 1LT trim with the convenience package. So in that sense, it starts at just under $25,000, like $24,700. Now, keep in mind, it's for an LT with the convenience package. If you put a gas model side by side with that convenience package, the difference in price is about $2,100, which isn't too bad. Just keep in mind that Chevy doesn't offer the diesel model in its basic form like they do in the gas engine, so it makes the price seem super expensive. Now, my tester has the $1,100 leather package and then $350 for this Cajun red paint. It stickers for just over $26,000 with destination, which, you know, it sounds pretty pricey considering that it doesn't have any driver assistance tech. It's got these small wheels and tires, no LED HID headlights, no sunroof. Now, if you guys want the automatic transmission, it's a pricey $1,600 extra for the automatic. And then if you want some driver assistance, the upgraded head unit, a sunroof, that's going to push the price, you know, by $2,800 again. So that's you're going to be looking at just over 30 grand for the diesel model, which is damn expensive for a compact car. About the same as, you know, a fully loaded Mazda 3 or even a Honda Civic hatch can get that expensive if you have with everything with the gas engine turbo model. But, you know, in terms of the $2,000 price increase over the gas Cruze, it's not a bad, you know, extra amount of money to charge. I just wish that Chevy offered the diesel with like the RS Sport package. And I really need to try out the automatic just to see, because that's probably the transmission that most of you are going to pick anyways. But all that said, I think the Cruze diesel is an excellent addition, and it really fills a void that was left by the Volkswagen Jetta TDI. So for those of you who, you know, refuse to drive a hybrid and you need to get rid, you know, you're looking for something to replace your Dieselgate Volkswagen, you may as well take a look at the Chevrolet Cruze diesel. It should be pretty much at the high end of your list. But if you guys are also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.